Right, so in this video what we're going to talk about is input, output and storage devices. Now, input and output devices, we've covered these in ICT lessons, so I'm not going to go into massively, but if you ever want to define what is an input device and what is an output device, the easiest way to do this is ask yourself these questions. Do I type, press or scan the information? If I type, press, click, push, hammer, bash, then it probably is an input device. If it's an output device, does it display something or spit something out? And if you ask this question yourself, if you think about it, a printer spits out in paper. Well, it must be an output device, yeah? A monitor displays something to the screen, so therefore it must be an output device. Remember, anything that is connected to the box is an input or output or storage device. Yeah? If it's connected outside that box of the CPU, it's an input, output or storage device. And remember, there are also storage devices in the computer, but we'll get to that later. So, definitions. Input devices. An input device, you've got to refer to the word data. Data is your keyword. An input device gets data into the machine. An output is a way of displaying data, okay, or getting information from the machine or from the CPU. Okay, you've got to be clear on those definitions. Now, this is where we start talking about the next bit, which is storage. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take. This might go into a second video. So, storage devices. Storage devices can come in three main types. We have magnetic storage, optical storage, and solid-state storage. Now, the most common type of storage is a magnetic storage. These are the ones you're probably more common with. Hard drives are probably the most common form of storage out there today, and they exist in every PC, and usually you can carry them around with you as well. And there are also these things called tapes, and we'll go into them in a little more detail in a minute. Optical drives, optical storage, CD and DVD, and also nowadays Blu-ray. And the last one, which is more modern, is solid state. Now, solid state has these things called SSDs, well, they're solid state drives. You also look at things like memory sticks. Okay, this is what I tend to refer to as digital storage. If you want to remember it, this one is where it stores the ones. Well, no, I won't do that. It's not. So, if we want to refer to it as digital storage. Now, magnetic storage. The first one we've got is a tape drive. Let's go to tape drives. Now, tape drives, if you imagine, ask your mum and dad, but there's my cassette tape. If you've never seen one before, yes, they're weird and wonderful things. They came along before CDs, and they were fantastic, because you could record and make mixtapes for your girlfriends. Now, massive tape drives. Tapes can store massive amounts of data. We're talking 3 to 4 hard drives, okay, on one tape. Now that sounds great, yeah, fantastic, but it's really, really slow. That's why it is perfect for backup. Okay, these tapes will probably cost you nowadays probably about £20. So a £20 tape that would last you a long time, and it would store a lot of data. Now, how it works is this. If you imagine this is my piece of tape, imagine like a piece of sticky tape, what it does is it stores the information straight along the line, like these little boxes are. This is a piece of data, this is a piece of data, this is a piece of data, this is a piece of data. And it stores it all the way along the line. So it just backs it up one after the other. But the problem is if you imagine, I want to go back and get this stuff, I've got to rewind it, fast forward. So it's rewind, fast forward, until I get until I get to the right point in the tape to find it. So that's why it takes a little bit of time. But you've got to imagine, if you're backing up, the chances of you wanting to get to that data, it's not that often. So you tend to do alright with this, because, let's face it, you don't need it that often, and when you do need it, you tend to need it all. So it could be, so tapes are really, really useful. Now, the one after that is your hard drive. Now, I'm calling it HDD. HDD stands for hard disk drive. Now, hard drives are obviously the most common form of storage device. Okay, and how it works is, if you want to imagine, and again I'm going to use old technology here, but if you want to imagine a record, okay, and if you've never seen a record before, again, go ask your mum and dad. But if you imagine a record, and what it has is if you've ever seen a record player, it has like that, a needle. And this is the way that hard drives work. A hard drive is a platter and it has a needle on it. And what it does is, when you want to find something, it moves the needle across the platter until it finds the right point, and then it pulls the data off. Yeah? And that's how it works, and it's always worked. And some hard drives, you will see it where they've got 1, 2, 3 little platters, and each of these has got a little needle on it. So you're doing all these, so that's lots of platters. So they're all doing them things at the same time, which is really, really good. And these things have been around for generations, 1970s here. And they are, because they've been around so long, we've worked out how to make it store more. And nowadays you can buy 2 terabyte, I think I saw a 2 terabyte hard drive for around £80. If you don't know what a terabyte is, go and look that up. That's part of your revision. So, how does a hard drive work? Well, in order to find things, you've got to be able to jump to the right point. So what the hard drive does is it's quite smart. It divides itself into sections. So as you can see here, I'm drawing my little lines across my hard drive. And how does it work? Well, what we do is we divide it into sections. And if you imagine that if I wanted to split them up, this is a directory. So that's a directory. Yeah? And inside the directory we have track. So if you want to think about it, it's like a folder within a folder in your work area. And inside the track, we divide it up even further into blocks. I'm going to put a B there. So when I want to find something, I go to D6 track 4 block 2. And it finds the almost exact place where your stuff is stored. Okay? Now, that makes it pretty fast, as long as your hard drive keeps a reference of where everything is. Now, sometimes your computer starts to go slow, and that's because when you imagine you're storing stuff, the hard drive doesn't organize itself. So if you start deleting stuff and bringing stuff back, and deleting stuff and bringing stuff back, putting new stuff on, it stores stuff all over the place. So sometimes what we need to do is we need to do something called defrag. Now defrag, what it does is it takes all the bits of data that you've stored all over your hard drive, yeah, and it puts them all into a logical order. So it says, right, okay, well, this bit is Windows, and then this bit is Office, and then, oh, there's a bit more Windows there because we installed Service Pack 1. So what defrag does is it goes, right, well, that's Windows and that's Windows, so I'll move them together. So when it tries to run it, it runs it, and it's in a much more logical order, and that makes it more helpful. Right, so I've just done, I'm realising this is 9 minutes 20 this video. I've done the hard drive, and I've done that. I've done tapes. What I'm going to move on to next is I'm going to do optical storage and solid state. That's in another video.